Alrighty, I want to start out by welcoming you all to another video from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. Hopefully by now everybody's head on over, have subscribed to the channel. If not, stop now, exit the video, head on over, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell so you can get all the current updates on new postings and new updates. And come on back to the video. So now, for this week's subject, I wanted to cover a subject that really is not computer related. Hasn't been computer related for a long time, but now is new tech and computer related. It also is a crucial importance to this year's test video that I've posted, and why everybody really needs to look at that. So that's why now this is in the rabbit hole year. This is why this is being brought into the rabbit hole, because it is a complex ordeal of a project, and it is still currently changing month to month, week to week. Prices are going up. Channels, things are merging. They're changing. It's still a whole in development of what's going to be left, what's going to be growing, what's not. And the old term for it was basically cutting your cable, was cutting your cord. Well, you're not theoretically cutting the cord, especially nowadays. You could still be technically cutting the cord, and that is referring to these things I got up here behind me. TV. Cutting your cable. Cutting your DirecTV, your satellite feeds, however you get Time Warner or whatever companies there are out there now where you're getting video feed. There are internet kind of broadcasts. There are other things out there that go to TVs. There's different services out there that go to your TV. Since the pandemic, they've been fighting this technology for a long time, but since the pandemic, it has come out. I'm sure if you've seen the news, or like here, the news is really bad. It does not give you all the facts. You're going to have to look at some alternative sources. You've heard of the writer's strike that's going on in 2023. That is due to this same kind of subject. And if you're not aware of all of these changes that have gone on, there might be some huge cost-cutting features. I know I've mentioned it in some of my past videos about our cable bill and our internet bill, what we were paying. We went from $130 some cable bill down to, I would say, a $30, $35, I would now say, TV bill, streaming bill. I don't even know the exact wording to actually word this anymore, because it's so new, different, modern to a lot of people that's out there. Most of it is considered streaming. But I am not streaming services. I'm actually streaming channels. TV channels also. So that's where there's a lot of variable that comes in here. Now there's certain devices, certain TVs, certain brands. The big one is the Roku that we have, that offers a bunch of streaming channels by having their TV connected to the internet. They have the service, they have everything there. It has lots and lots of stuff you can watch. Kind of a sad thing about it all is we cut our costs way down and went to these streaming services, and now we have too much. We can go anytime and see pretty much anything we kind of want, and we have too much. Now, we're not watching as much TV as we used to either. there are certain services you can pay for that you can actually have online recording of certain channels. You go on there, just like if you had a DVR and you set it, I want to record this, and it records it, and it saves it on the internet. And then you can watch it on your phones, your tablets, your TVs. You can watch it on all these different devices. So it goes back to the old-fashioned TV antennas. There's all kinds of different ones. I don't have any luck in this area where we're at with any of these. This one has where it has the USB booster. I don't have any luck with that stuff. It all has to be outside the house on the roof. I've mentioned that. I believe I have some videos on that where I had some antennas, some cheap ones I bought off of eBay. Put them on the cables that come out of the room up into the splitters. I took them off the splitter, attached those ends on, and just tossed up on the roof. And I got basically the local 4 or 5 channels with some other little stuff. Since then, I've upgraded to some bigger antennas to get a little bit more stuff. Since then, I've done another project where all RG59 and 6 has been removed and went to RG11. So I replaced all those lines. This is where the rabbit hole effect comes in with your cabling. This is part of the network side too that I mentioned, all of this cabling. So again, I've mentioned 3 different kinds of gauges of cords already. A lot of the complaints that a lot of people have is this stuff. What gauge wire is this? So here I'm going through running RG11. I actually have some I just moved that I can show you the difference. And you hook it up to something like this. This is not good wire. I wouldn't run this in the house, so why would you want to buy a device with this? So this is part of the reasons why a lot of these devices, I believe, do not work. Is they cutting corners by using the cheapest stuff they can use. So this is the antenna. This is where cutting the cord used to mean you're going to these type of antennas, or ceiling mount antennas, or attic antennas, or back of the TV antennas. Used to be cutting the cord. Theoretically, you can't cut the cord when you're going streaming. You can cut your TV provider. You still have to have an internet provider so that you can stream what you need to stream. So this is really where it's kind of funny, because now you have tech coming involved. I mentioned some of the older video cards and some of my video stuff where they would, oh, do I have it right here? I do. Where you have the TV tuner where you run the coax in to watch it on your computer. And you used to be able to record on your computer. Now you can just stream everything. You don't need any of that. It all goes through the internet. So instead of going through your coax, you're actually getting it through your network cable. So you still have a service you gotta pay. And this is why this leads back into this year's quiz video. Because in the old days, it wasn't that big of a deal because you didn't have that kind of bandwidth. You weren't doing that many functions. You weren't playing PlayStations and Xboxes and everything else out onto the internet. Everything wasn't so cloud-based. Well, it is cloud. Everything was still out on the internet. Just the cloud-based environment has kicked in. That has changed some things. Well, now you have programs that are actually going out to the cloud instead of being run on your physical device. So this is where a lot of these aspects of coming in to why this year's quiz is so important, because a lot of factors fall back on that. And again, with the streaming and all of this new tech out there, is why this is considered a rabbit hole to me to put out to you, because it goes into so many different layers. Because you can stream, you can put an antenna up, get all your local channels, and you can pay for one or two services, and you don't have to pay for your locals. Or you can just decide, I don't want an antenna, I don't want wires, I don't want any of this stuff, and I can stream from my 5 major networks that I have. You can watch it all on the internet, you can do whatever you want, and usually there's other things in there along with those other networks. They have other channels that they provide you. But if you want to cut some of the cost, because maybe you only watch the morning news, you don't watch the soap operas, you don't watch any of the other stuff during the afternoon, morning times, maybe you watch evening news, that's it, you might decide to go with an antenna, because why pay $5.99, $8.99 a month when you can put an antenna up and save yourself those costs? So this is where the rabbit hole effect really comes in, because you can overpay again for more stuff that you really don't need. And this is really the thing that I brought up a lot this year, is there's a lot of things you can overdo, overpurchase, have too much of, that in the past you didn't have those options. It wasn't, I can go out and get, a 20 meg internet connection. Well, it's not like today where my basic's 300 and I can upgrade to a 400, I can upgrade to a 500, I can upgrade to an 800 megabyte per second. So there's a lot of variables there. I remember having a 10 meg internet connection, being perfectly fine. When I first moved here, it was 20 megs. And they slowly upgraded it. I was good with that. It worked fine. But now we're streaming, and now we're doing a lot of other things that might be a variable on what internet speed you have. When you add all these streaming services and you're playing games and you're doing other stuff on there, you might need to upgrade your speeds. So this is the rabbit hole, because now you're talking about as simple as, I want to get rid of my TV antenna, but I still want to watch the news in the morning. How do I accomplish this? What needs to be done? There could be a lot of variables there. And it could be really easy streaming. But if you have a slow internet connection, if you're off of satellite or something else that you don't have a good, strong, reliable feed, you might have an issue. So this is where the rabbit hole really comes in. And that's, again, why I have all of these other videos. Go back and watch all of those videos that relate to all of these subjects. Because this is what I've been finding is, over the years, these things have gotten a little bit more complex and complicated, because it's no longer just, should I have TV cable? Should I go to antenna? Should I pay for a streaming service? Should I pay for a whole streaming package where I get all kinds of local channels and all kinds of stuff? I think YouTube has it, and there's a couple other ones out there that I'm sure if you will see when you go online. To know, look around, really shop it and find out what is out there, because you might think this is really your only option. There is not only your only option anymore. Again, there is a lot of options out there for you to look at. there are a lot of free things out there to look at. If you're looking for very specific things, you might just pay for those very specific or get a package that covers a broad range where your stuff is in there. When we first changed over, I found a service. I'm sure I did a video on it for $20 a month that has online DVR recording, and it had 95% of everything I wanted to see except for locals. Had the antenna, got the locals. So we literally went from 130 some bucks a month to 20. And there was little other things we added for $4.99 or $5.99, different streaming services. Now, and it's been going on for a while, but now certain cell phone providers offer you these streaming services. Offer you specific services that you can sign up. So you need to look and find out if your package, or if you upgrade your package, or you get a new package, or you change companies, do you get these services? Because if you get 2 or 3 of those services for free, and they're $5.99 a month or $4.99 a month, that's $10, $11, $12 of free services, not really free, that you're paying. But you're paying it into your phone bill that actually makes it a better value for you. Then you can watch all that stuff on your phone. But not only on your phone, you can watch it on the TVs that have the apps to watch it. So then that gets into smart TVs, like Roku TVs, all of those type of things that have the apps you can download to watch those services. Your computer, you can watch them, log them in on your computer and watch it. Now, gets into the fun part. Now, I'm getting into a lot of this casting stuff. We weren't using these features. They are now available. We're using the features. Don't really use it at home because we have the technical TVs that we can get the apps and do everything we want on them. But now you can actually, it's been around for a long time. It was a little buggy, I know, when I looked at it before, but it's getting more reliable. You can actually cast from your phone or computer to your TV. So if your TV does not necessarily have all of those apps, but has the casting feature where you can link your computer to the TV to show it on the TV, you can actually watch whatever you want on the TV through the computer. So it's kind of interesting. Not to mention, you have an HDMI input. I've mentioned that on my videos about HDMI. If you could hook that HDMI directly to a computer, to a video card, talked about video cards, the ports, how many ports. If you have 2 monitors hooked up, but you run an HDMI out to your TV on the 3rd port on that video card, you can actually show your TV off over there. And I have videos on how you set up multiple screens and how to mirror and how to clone and how to extend. And you can actually use your computer and throw your video feed off to the TV all at the same time. So this is where the tech has come involved, where now all these little things that weren't really computer related are computer related. Because technically now I could do a TV here like this one, and a TV here, and this monitor. I could fire up this computer, start streaming a streaming service over here, start streaming another TV service over here, and use my computer. I know it's a little excessive, but day traders, anybody that needs that live feeds, needs that information, you have possibilities here. Maybe you're in an area where you have severe storms or severe weather or something coming through. As long as your service stays up, you can still use it. Again, if you have antenna, you can hook antenna up to these TVs also. So in case you have severe weather in the area and you lose internet because it's not out where you're out, the power's not out, but it's out 3 miles down the road where all of that stuff relays through, you can pull the antenna feed for emergencies. That's the only reason I've always had antenna, because I lived in California with the earthquakes. It's a backup. It's reliable. As long as you got power, you got video. You don't have to worry about any of those other factors out there. So this was one of these little rabbit hole subjects that once you get involved in what part of the country you're in and where you're at and how all of these things work, and are you out in the wilderness, are you out in the city, are you, big city, are you up in the top of a building, a lower altitude, a higher altitude, all these factors come into play on what choices you would want to lean to. So, like I said, these things don't work for me. I brought it up. My parents moved. I took a bunch of stuff over there and took it to them. I said, here, try these things. They didn't work for me. They worked really well over there. I could not figure out what the major factor difference is. Okay, they work. They worked well. They worked as they advertised. They just don't work here. They don't work in this area. I believe it's due to altitude. We're probably too low due to wherever everything else is at. The walls, too thick, whatever it is, you have those issues. You have to learn to get around some of them. Some of it's really easy. Like I said, I just took it from the line that already ran out through the wall, ran around, where it actually went into a splitter that where we had the satellite before, the dish split off, took the splitter off, took the little thing, just tossed it up on the roof, and it worked. One of the room lines is still hooked up that way, with the thing just laying up on the roof. That's a future project that I'm going to get to, but it's not a room we use at all, hardly. So, there's a lot of technology out there, a lot of things out there, a lot of things to look at. When it comes to TV services. And it's kind of hard because I know I'm doing computer tech, but I'm talking about TV services. Because you're not really getting your TV services from a TV service company anymore. You're getting it from a streaming company and your internet company. So this is where there's a difference, because before, when you would pay for your TV service, it came on that line and they were responsible for that line and all of that type of stuff to make sure you had enough bandwidth and all of that. Now it's kind of your responsibility, because now you're the one that gets the internet, and then you're the one adding that service on top of the internet. Internet company is not responsible for your streaming services, speeds and feeds and all of that type of stuff. So there's a variable there. But again, if you got a cell phone or you got something else, your wireless speeds, your wireless technologies, all of those type of things, how old your tech is, all of those type of things come into play with streaming. Now, with the new Windows 11 generation, new Windows 12 generation coming around, that all the older tech is unsupported and everybody's buying new tech to be supported with the new operating system. Hopefully there's not too many people using the hacks and the breaches and stuff like that to get around it, to reload the new operating system on new hardware, because of factors like this. This is why I always just been recommending, hey, be ready to buy new hardware, new tech, because of things like this. They're all so intertwined and connected now that if you use the older tech, you're going to run into problems when you stream. If you try to cast, a lot of older devices can't cast. What video outputs you have? It's HDMI. Is it HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4? You know, there's a lot of variables out there. And I have a lot of videos talking about a lot of these variables. And there's very reasons why. And when you get into a subject like this, is really when it gets a little too confusing for a lot of people. Because they saw something that drew them in to look at streaming channels or streaming other things. That's why they originally looked at what they're looking at. That's why they're looking at the streaming. Now, if you saw a YouTube streaming and you're interested in the YouTube streaming and you want to go that route, let's say, that's just a company I can think of offhand. They're not a paid sponsor. They're not anything to do with this video. You may not know what other options are out there because that's the ad or commercial or whatever you've seen that got you interested. So this is why also I'm doing this video, to let everybody know there's a lot of streaming services out there. There's a lot of free stuff out there. And you really have to do your research, because a lot of the stuff you might be perfectly happy with. There's so much content out there that is good network content. Some of it's really old stuff from the 80s and 90s and a lot of older stuff. There's channels out there, streaming channels specific for specific shows, where that's all they show is the certain show. Or they have 3 or 4 different shows that rotate. And there's a lot of good content out there you can find. So this is why I wanted to do this video, is to point out how this subject is kind of flopped. It's kind of changed, because now it's kind of funny to think, I've mentioned before, these have HDMI lines that you can hook up to your computer, so you don't need a monitor. But there's refresh rates and other differences that are difference between a monitor and a telephone and a TV, to the point of now a benefit of why you would want to hook that computer up to that TV, and how all of this has changed, because now this TV is not providing TV services anymore. It's actually providing streaming services. So it's kind of an awkward transition. I know they've had smart TVs, and it's been something that's been in the works for a long time. And if it's not really a feature you've used or experienced or were even interested in, or was not really pointed out to you in a clear environment so you would see the differences of what these things are. And of course, there are smart TVs and other things that really aren't that great. Their software and other things aren't that great, that really hinder the technology. I mentioned the one brand that I have. Don't want to mention them over and over again, but you can go back and watch the video again to pick up. There's a lot of channels, a lot of streaming, a lot of add-on channels, a lot of things you can add to that really makes it really worth a value. That makes it worth, wow, and they've improved it this year. They've added a lot of things to it. Now, again, this is this year. Next year, it could be totally different. They could start taking all that away. They could start charging you for it. They could start doing all kinds of stuff. So this is where it's kind of the rabbit hole, because this is still a new developing technology, I'm going to say. Where it's at now, where it's going to be in the future is probably going to be completely different. If they're charging, not charging, who knows? How all of these services are going to work, how they work, when all of these unions and everybody else gets everything all straight, gets everything leveled out, we'll find out where all of this falls. Maybe some of these service channels go away because they can't support it, not making money. I've heard all these reports about streaming services losing all kinds of money that I just can't possibly imagine how they could be losing all kinds of money. But there's a lot of weird stuff out there that I've been hearing. So, wanted to just do a video on this to let everybody be aware of what's out there as of 2023. This is a rabbit hole subject because this is always probably going to be something, I'm assuming the next 3 years is going to be a constant change. Going to be a mixing pot of stuff. So, stay tuned for updates. Hope everybody got enough valid information out of this, enough current information to understand how this is really a funny subject to now implement into computers, into computer science, into security, into technology, into your network and structure, layout, all of these things. I have mentioned in my mesh video about my mesh box having a network cable run from the mesh box to each TV. That is because of the streaming. And the other weird thing with that TV is your TV guide, that when you go to see what's on, pulls from the internet. Doesn't pull from the antenna feed. It actually pulls from the Wi-Fi or the internet. So if I don't have internet, that's not updated. The channels work. So I wanted to bring that up because now, even though I have antenna TV and I go to the guide to see what's on, it's unavailable. Doesn't tell me what's on there because I have to have internet. So that's another point where a lot of this is kind of getting smushed together and on top of each other and forcing it into computer tech and tech environment instead of cable TV broadcasting, instead of straight antenna. And again, another thing that's coming out is a new antenna frequency type channel technology that's been out there. They never really fully even developed this digital one now. They did not do what a lot of things they were supposed to do. But now, if you go to streaming, have antenna, you're probably going to have most of everything you're going to want. And that is cutting the cable to your cable. It's not truly cutting the cable because you still have to have internet unless you go straight antenna. Unless you go with some kind of satellite internet service. But then that gets back into this year's quiz. Knowing what bandwidth and all that type of stuff. Maybe you're okay with some of that. Maybe it'll work out for you. But this is where I kind of held off on doing this video. Then I go, you know what? This is so much tech now. So much tech related. With the video card video, with the ports, knowing what cables you run, knowing are you on a TV, are you on a monitor, knowing your router, knowing your firewall configurations, knowing your bandwidth for your internet. All of these things are here for this. So this is why this video is coming out, to press this issue, to let you know that all these things are related, how they're related. I'm assuming most of the people who were interested in a streaming service or any of those type of things, I'm sure you've heard of the Netflix cracking down on password sharing and all of those things. That is a streaming service. Redbox, where you rent the movies and you don't have to return them, that's a streaming service. I can't think of any more off top of my head, but those were the ones that are in the news with the most subject out there, where I think a lot of people have heard about it, even if you haven't used that service or not using that service in any way, that you know what it is. Amazon is probably the other big one. HBO has been marketing a lot. These are the big names out there right now that are streaming. I wanted to break this down so everybody actually understands exactly what I'm talking about. These are individual streaming services that are out there. Hulu is kind of a package. It's not an independent. Paramount, Peacock, all those other ones that are out there. There's a bunch out there. I can't name them all off. There's a whole bunch out there. But there's different types of services that they offer between the different ones. Some are multiple channels, different networks. Some are basically the same network. You can choose what you want, what you don't want. If you only watch one or two networks, you can sign up for one or two networks. You don't have to sign up for a package that has 4 networks. Or you could sign up maybe for that package that has 4 networks that covers your 2 networks. Might be actually cheaper or about the same price, but you get more for it. That's why I brought up knowing what's out there, and if something caught your eye that, I can sign up for this and save money. And this is really where I got caught in it for a long time, doing a lot of research, because like I said, we went from $130 to like $20 to start with. If you would go out and buy the top marketed package out there and it's $80 or $90 a month, you're thinking, okay, I'm saving $50 a month. But I just told you I paid $20 a month. And you're going to pay $80. So you're actually paying $60 more than I was. And that package might actually be what you need. So it's kind of a watch, be aware video also, because again, I mentioned before, you can actually buy more than you actually need. And this is really the concept that I've been going on for at least a year now about, because this is the first time I know of that you can really buy something excessive than what you really need. And it's covering a lot. There's a lot of different tech and a lot of different stuff out there that really is more than you actually need. So you can end up saving money, but still end up paying too much and having more than you actually need. And it might not have one simple service you want. So you just kind of have to shop around, a buyer beware, to know what's available, what's not available, and how this relates now into the tech. And this is why you might also want to go out and buy a new system a little sooner than later. Because I know everybody's holding off. They don't want to go to Windows 11. They're holding off. But you can also buy a new system and roll back to Windows 10. And have the newer hardware, have the newer speeds, have the newer M.2 drive instead of a SATA drive, instead of an old spinning mechanical drive. There's a lot of variables out there that really lead into a lot of these decisions. This decision could cause a lot of other changes. Your computer hardware, TV, buying a new TV, why you'd want a TV. Not only size, not only refresh rate, not only, there's a lot of variables in the TVs, but now streaming, casting, a lot of these other features that are tech related to the TV. That might be helpful. I mentioned bought a 4K Bluetooth, 4K HD high definition Blu-ray player that had the smart features in it. It's nice. You get a nice clear video feed and you get all of these other type of things, but all the smart features I'm not using because the TV has so much in it. I don't even look at that. $4K HDR DVD, I haven't really watched too much of it because the video feeds are so nice now. So let me wrap this one up with those few pointers at the end so people are aware. If you shop around, you look, you can find a lot of interesting stuff. Find what's right. Hopefully you don't overpay. And thank you so much for watching. Again, make sure you're subscribed. Head on over there, hit subscribe. After you're done watching this video, head on over and verify you're subscribed. If not, subscribe. Thank you so much.